Hello, my name is Jaxson Martinez, and for my Capstone project, I decided to cover the MLB and MLB Advanced Media's centralization. So, the current issue in baseball is with their regional sports networks, RSNs. Um, it's not a new issue, it's always been going on. They've always been in flux and haven't been reliable. Why this is important to the teams and leagues is 80% of all MLB consumption happens through these RSNs, and about a quarter of teams' total revenue comes from RSNs. This issue was really highlighted in the current year because one of the MLB's main RSN partners, Main Street Sports Group, they appear on TV as FanDuel Sports Network. FanDuel also covers NBA, NHL, and NHL games. They missed their payments to NBA teams in early January 2026. So if they're unable to meet their obligations in January, are they really going to be able to meet them in March, April when the MLB starts up? MLB teams didn't think so, so they decided to be proactive and terminate these contracts, which that means a 9 of 30 or a third of the league is uncertain about where a quarter of their revenue is going to come from for the 2026 season. My proposed solution, and one that the MLB's been trying to get going, is that they unify all the rights under the umbrella, do something similar to the NFL's Sunday Ticket. As I said before, MLB has been looking to do this for a long time. It's not a new issue. The picture on the right, the top teams with the FanDuel, those are the teams that lost the RSNs. And going into 2026, the MLB acquired the rights of the teams next to ESPN, so the Padres, Mariners, Guardians, Diamondbacks, Twins, and Rockies for similar reasons. This was because the RSNs were unable to meet obligations or just falling through. So what the MLB did with this is they sold or partnered with ESPN to cover not just the out of market games or big games like Sunday Night Baseball, but they're going to cover these teams in market games. So this could be huge for the MLB if they already have a partner with ESPN. But is ESPN really going to take on the risk of all 30 teams if the MLB's in decline viewership wise? I don't know, but I have more on that later. So the opportunity that we have in front of us is the stabilization of revenue from RSNs by bringing them under one umbrella. So what we want to do with this is implement a revenue sharing model that works across the league. So understanding that there are big market teams like the Mets and Dodgers, but also that there's smaller markets like Miami and Milwaukee, and trying to help them stay on equal footing and increase competitiveness throughout the league, which is the second goal. Encourage parity by improving competitive balance across franchises. So the strengths for this is that the MLB infrastructure is already in place. They have the product MLB TV. Another strength, they already found a potential dance partner in ESPN who's shown an appetite to take on some of these teams. The full 30, we don't know. The MLB also has a very strong and united brand, which makes it easy to sell as well. And simple fan access is everybody can go to the games. It doesn't matter. People consume it in large numbers. So it's definitely appealing to fans. Some of the downsides are that like I said before, inconsistent markets. The Dodgers aren't the same as the Cincinnati Reds. Also, on that note, not all teams are interested. Like the Cubs have a very successful RSN partner that's very stable and lucrative to them. Are they really going to sacrifice that to go into a league mandated one? Another weakness for the MLB is that it is risky for them because they are putting a lot of reliance on a single major partner. And because of this, you might lose some of your favorite broadcast crowds, which people tune into the game to listen to. So that would contribute to the loss of local identity. More long term, though, the opportunities, a great advantage is the direct to consumer streaming. That would put a lot more money in the MLB's pockets. Also, cross platform growth, not just watching it on TV, but turning it into streaming on phones and computers, which the MLB already kind of does, but that's where society's trending towards, those alternate platforms. Also, dynamic pricing can be implemented. So, hot teams you could charge a little bit more for. The teams not as sought after, you can get a little bit of a deal on those. And overall, the league value would grow tremendously. The threats to this, though, are that there are some legal concerns that you got to avoid. I'll get into a little later. Blackouts are always an issue. Other professional leagues may adopt this before the MLB, which could set it back. And the current RSN partners, there's a lot of legal stuff that goes into getting out of those contracts. So, from a legal side, how are we going to make this work? I think the NFL Sunday ticket lawsuit is a great example to look at. It's also been a recent issue. So to avoid this, the MLB needs to have no extreme restrictions or packaging practices. The main ones were all or nothing packages or price fixing. And if they do this, the NFL, it came out that they were on the hook for close to $5 billion, but because antitrust violations, you can get triple that. It'd be $15 billion. I know that a higher court ruled against them being on the hook, but either way, you don't want to mess around with either having to pay $5 or $15 billion because you didn't do things right. So you got to get this part right. However, the MLB does have a little bit more flexibility because of their antitrust exemptions that only they have. So, to avoid all this, the first thing is the pro-competitive justification, which the MLB can prove because most of the RSNs are failing. By bringing them under one umbrella, there'd be improved quality for all teams, and there won't be any drastic price hikes. I'm not saying price won't go up at all because there might be some increased prices because of transition costs, but you can't have those prices double or triple. Also, what the NFL failed to do was have multiple packages. They were just selling as one united take it or leave it bundle, which caused a lot of the antitrust violations. So to avoid this, the MLB should offer the large base bundle, all teams, but also have team-specific individual games if they want, and also sell the rights for those big matchups like Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN or Fox Game of the Week. So have secondary distributors. Also, they can have revenue distribution, but not price controlling. What this basically means is they can't sell as one entity the MLB, but they need to sell them as each individual club in their market. So now that we got all the legals side of it figured out, we're going to transition to the marketing side. So is the one concern was, is the MLB a dying league? And according to Statista, not really, because in 2023 they had 12.7 billion minutes watched on MLB TV, and in 2024 they grew by 2 billion to 14.5. So still lots of interest in baseball. So what the MLB really needs to do is build on proven strategies, keeping the core fans engaged and satisfied. You need them on board to be successful, because if you lose them, the transition will probably fall through and set the MLB back. They also need to do what they've been focusing on, expanding the appeal to younger tech savvy audiences, which they have been. Also, they do a good job at targeted market specific advertisements. So if I'm in Los Angeles, I'm not getting the same ads as a consumer in Detroit. So really taking advantage of the different markets. Also, they can work on strengthening community ties and partnerships. The teams already do a great job of this by helping out in their communities, getting everybody involved. And they also do a good job of emphasizing a fan-first league. That basically saying that anybody can come enjoy the game, that it's not just for one type of person, one gender, one background, but everybody can come enjoy a ball game. And on the flip side, they do need to adapt to some new changes. So acquiring all the rights under one umbrella will allow them to utilize the new vast amounts of data that they're getting. So if it helps with advertisement sales or finding undervalued pieces of the market, they just need to use that to their advantage. Also, pursue the international market growth. With all the increased popularity in Japan, maybe try other places. Maybe South America's a hotbed for the MLB. Who knows, but they should definitely look into that. And also developing targeted marketing by content and subscription packages. So they already have the MLB TV one size fits all, but really figuring out how Milwaukee Brewers fans want to get, what advertisements are valuable to them and to that market, or if I just want a single game, to view a single game, what advertising strategies work great for that one game. So definitely lots of areas to grow. Now to get into the financial side of things. So transitioning will have a lot of upfront costs. These left graphs kind of show you how much money we're talking about from the media side. So the top one is each team's RSN deal. Unfortunately, the Blue Jays aren't reported, but of all the 29 other teams, it's about 2.3 billion. And the bottom graph shows us the current media revenue for national outlets, so Fox, ESPN, TBS, and Apple, which accounts for 1.8 billion. So, just so that we have some numbers in our head. But so for year one of the transition, or years 1 through 2, the goal is going to be transition and stabilization. So having the new RSN partner, whoever it is, keep revenue for teams about 95% of, or around there, the peak of where it was, just so there's no hiccups along the way. Year 3 through 4 will be really increasing subscriptions and ad growth. So the goal would be subscription growth of 8 to 12%. Year 5 through 7 of the transition is really going to be focused on knocking it out of the park. So this stage is really focused on scalability and franchise valuation increase. This just ensures that investing in the RSN isn't a short-term fix, but really has a positive ROI for both the teams and the league. For this to be successful, the league needs to get the consumers on board. So I believe a good measure for this would having an 85% approval rate or higher on the RSN setup. So a little bit more about the finances. This may look like a lot, but I'll walk you through it. So starting up in this top left box, the transition costs are going to be pretty steep up front. You're going to have, as you can see, contract buyouts, platform migration, tech integration, fan education, legal regulatory setup, broadcast rebranding and training. So these costs are estimated to be anywhere between $500 and $800 million. But that's just a one-time expense. It won't be reoccurring. But to offset it, that may seem like a lot, but right under here is the annual cost savings. So in production, technology, and legal risk, the total estimated savings every year is going to be 200 to 300 million. So basically in 3 to 4 years, you could completely cover the transition costs. Since we are bringing all the teams under one umbrella, it is going to be important that we also have this team allocation formula put in place. So it just makes it more fair. There's a couple things in it, so it's not everybody gets the same, because that'd be unfair for the large market teams such as New York, Boston, LA, and it also just be giving too much resources to some of the smaller markets. So how it's going to be broken down, 50% of the payout is going to be equal. So half of it will be equal across all teams, but then we're also going to have a market size adjustment. So like the bigger ones will get a little bit more because they just draw more eyes, have more attention. We're also going to have 15% be performance incentives. So if you go on a deep playoff run or you make it to the World Series, you will benefit from this. And also we're going to have the local engagement incentives. So say your team's rebuilding, you're not winning every year, but you're still able to draw a crowd, bring fans in, keep them happy. You can and will be rewarded for that. So the estimated, based on the last slide, the 4.1 billion we had for RSNs, team distributions are going to be 2.79 billion, which is a little lower than the 4.1 that was there, but we do have to pay some other obligations such as marketing, legal, having some reserves. So it may start lower, but as we grow the valuation of the teams and get more people watching, this number should grow. So as you can see in the bottom line snapshot, the net annual gain is going to be about 250 million plus per year. So my evaluation is this. I believe this is a great plan because it strengthens the league's long-term viability. However, it must be implemented strategically to mitigate legal risk and negative fan response. We don't want a repeat of the NFL Sunday Ticket lawsuit for the MLB. That would be terrible. And if you anger your core fan base enough, you're just not going to have people spending the money to watch baseball as you would want. So just making sure that they have a good experience and a good transition too. It is also a great way to grow baseball on and off the field, both competitive, but also getting people engaged and bringing them to the ballpark. Another strength of it is that it allows parity without significantly dissuading large market teams. So they still benefit and will make more, as they should, because they are, in most terms, are trying and putting in more than some of the smaller market teams. So that formula will really help out there. And then, as I've harped on again and again, success is really going to depend on gaining and maintaining fan support. Thank you.